Talking Trees with Lily and Jad. In today's episode, we'll be exploring the VETcert project, an EU-funded initiative aimed at harmonizing the recognition of skills and knowledge in the care of ancient and veteran trees across Europe. The project also included the development of a certification scheme, standardized training curricula, and resources for ongoing education. Through these efforts, VETcert aims to improve the standards of care for ancient trees and promote the mobility of skilled professionals throughout Europe. Let's dive into the details of how VETcert is shaping the future of veteran tree care.
Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. This time, we're taking a look at something pretty incredible. The specialized care of veteran trees. Now, I know you're probably thinking, oh, taking care of trees, I know how to do that. You water them, you give them sunlight. But it's actually a lot more complicated than that.
It is.
Especially when we're talking about veteran trees, these ancient giants that have been around for centuries.
Absolutely, and that's where the VETcert program comes in.
Yeah. Tell me a little about this program. What is it?
So VETcert, it's all about setting that gold standard for veteran tree specialists across Europe.
Okay, so Europe-wide. So this isn't just like a local thing. This is a big deal.
It is a big deal because, as you said, these trees are incredibly important and they need specialized care. It's about recognizing that they're not just bigger versions of younger trees. You know, they have different reactions to things like damage and decay.
Oh, interesting.
Their root systems are much more complex. Their ecological significance is far greater.
So you're telling me that it's not just about, trimming a few branches here and there and calling it a day.
No, not at all. It's about understanding their unique needs, their history, and their role in that wider ecosystem.
So let's break this down a little bit. When we talk about approaching a tree, like what's the difference between approaching, let's say, a young tree versus a veteran tree?
Okay, well, imagine you're a tree care professional.
Okay.
With a young tree, your focus is going to be on promoting healthy growth.
Right.
You're going to be pruning for structure, protecting it from pests, and essentially just guiding it towards a strong maturity.
Right. So you're kind of setting the stage for a nice long life.
Exactly. Laying the foundation.
Exactly. The foundation.
Then you have mature trees.
Okay.
And here the focus shifts a bit more towards maintaining health and managing their existing structure.
Right.
Things like crown thinning, maybe to let in more light. But then we get to these veteran trees, and that's where things change dramatically.
Yeah. So it seems like with young trees and mature trees, you're kind of working with what's there. You're trying to help it grow or you're trying to help it stay healthy.
Right.
But with veteran trees, it's like a whole other ball game.
It is a whole other ballgame. These trees are fragile. They're ecosystems in their own right. They're historical treasures.
Yeah.
And they demand a completely different, specialized approach because a deep understanding of their unique vulnerabilities is crucial to making decisions that will ensure their well-being for years to come.
Yeah. I mean, you think about a tree that's been alive for, let's say, 500 years.
Right.
It's seen a lot. It's been through a lot.
Exactly.
And you don't want to be the one to come in and mess that up.
You don't want to mess it up.
So that's where VETcert really comes into play.
Exactly, because before VETcert, there was a real lack of standardized training and certification for veteran tree care in Europe.
So it was kind of like the Wild West out there.
A little bit, yeah. And this meant that the quality of care that these trees received could vary widely. Oh, wow.
And sometimes improper management even caused harm.
Oh, that's awful.
So that's why VETcert was created, to establish a common European standard for managing these incredible trees.
So tell me about the origins of VETcert. Who are the people behind it?
Well, it was a collaborative effort. We had 10 organizations across Europe, including NGOs, training centers, and arboricultural associations.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
They all came together to create it. And this collaboration was key to establishing a consistent set of standards across the continent.
So it sounds like they recognized that protecting these ancient trees was bigger than any one organization or country.
It absolutely was. They came together with that shared passion and said, hey, we need to do this right. And so they developed this rigorous exam. And actually, there are two levels.
Oh.
Yeah, there's the practicing and the consulting levels.
Okay, and those are each tailored to different roles in veteran tree care.
Exactly.
So you've got your different levels. But what does the exam actually involve? Like, what kind of knowledge do you need to have to be a veteran tree specialist? Well, one of the most fundamental things is being able to recognize a veteran tree in the first place.
I would think that's pretty easy. It's a big old tree, right?
You'd think so, wouldn't you? But there's more to it than just seeing a big old tree. You need to be able to distinguish a veteran tree from simply an old tree.
Oh, okay.
There are unique forms, signs of aging, historical context to consider.
So it's not just about the tree itself. It's about its whole story, its whole history.
Exactly.
Okay. What else is on the exam?
Well, there's a whole unit focused on understanding the intricate ecological roles that veteran trees play. You see, they're like miniature ecosystems supporting a whole web of life, specialized fungi, rare insects.
Wow.
You name it, they've got it.
So it sounds like it takes a certain kind of person to even want to specialize in this field.
It does. It does. These are the people who understand that veteran trees are more than just trees.
Yeah.
They are living links to the past. They're vital for biodiversity. They often hold deep cultural significance.
So how does the exam test those practical skills? You mentioned earlier that there's real-life scenarios involved.
Yes. Imagine you're a candidate and you're presented with this majestic ancient oak
Oh, wow.
that's showing signs of decay, and your task is to assess its overall health, identify any potential hazards, and develop a management plan that considers both preservation and safety.
So it's not just about keeping the tree alive. It's also about making sure that it's not a danger to anybody.
Exactly. You would need to show that you can do a thorough visual inspection, maybe use tools to assess the tree's internal structure. You're really giving that tree a physical...
You're giving a checkup.
A checkup. That's
Yeah.
a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And then based on that, you develop a plan,
Yeah.
which could include anything from pruning branches to installing support systems, really anything.
Right. And I imagine you have to be able to justify your recommendations.
Absolutely.
Not just say, well, I think we should do this, but we should do this
We have
because...
to back it up with the science.
And the history and everything else, yeah.
All of that. It's not just about knowing the theory. You need to be able to apply it on the ground, literally.
Yeah, get your hands dirty.
You do. And that's what makes VETcert so valuable. It really sets that high bar, ensuring that certified professionals have the skills and knowledge to truly protect these irreplaceable trees.
Yeah, and it's a demanding field, I imagine.
It is demanding, but incredibly rewarding.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating to see how the exam even goes beyond just the science of trees.
Really? What do you mean by that?
Well, there's a whole unit dedicated to assessing the cultural and historical significance of veteran trees.
Oh, interesting.
So it's not just about the biology, but also their connection to human history.
Oh, wow, that makes a lot of sense. Because like we were saying, these trees have been around for so long. They've seen so much history.
They've seen it all.
So they're not just part of the natural world, they're part of our human world as well.
Exactly. And a VETcert specialist needs to be able to recognize these aspects and understand how they might influence the management and preservation of the tree. It's this unique blend of science and cultural sensitivity.
It's like you got to be a historian and a scientist all in one.
A little bit of both. It's a really interesting field.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what are some other unique areas that the exam covers?
Risk management is another critical unit
Oh, okay.
because veteran trees, just by their very nature, are more susceptible to hazards, whether it's structural weaknesses, disease, or even human interference. A VETcert specialist needs to be able to assess these risks and know how to mitigate them.
So it's like finding that balance between, letting the tree age naturally and also making sure that it's safe.
Exactly. It's about making informed decisions that prioritize the tree's well-being while also considering the safety of the surrounding environment.
Right.
This might involve things like installing support systems,
Yeah.
carefully pruning hazardous branches, or even, in some cases, restricting public access.
Wow. So there are a lot of factors to consider.
There are a lot of factors, but that's part of what makes veteran tree care such a specialized field.
Speaking of specialized, let's talk about a place where you can actually take this exam and become certified.
Yes, the Czech Republic.
Yes, the Czech Republic.
They've been involved with VETcert from the very beginning.
Right.
In fact, they were one of the founding members of the original project.
Oh, wow.
Which shows their dedication to veteran tree preservation.
So they weren't just offering the exam, they actually helped to shape the whole program.
They helped shape the program. They brought their own expertise and insights, helping to develop the curriculum, the exam structure, the whole process.
That's really impressive.
And the fact that they offer the VETcert exam in English means that they've opened up this training to a global audience.
That's fantastic.
It is. It highlights the global recognition that standardized expertise in veteran tree care is critical to the preservation of these incredible trees.
Yeah, it's not just a European issue, it's a worldwide issue.
It is.
Now, you mentioned earlier that the exam involves these real-life scenarios.
Right.
What might those involve?
Okay, so imagine you're a candidate and you're facing that majestic ancient oak that we were talking about before.
Okay.
You've assessed it, you've done your physical.
Uh-huh.
Now you need to present your management plan.
Okay.
This is where you demonstrate that you can turn knowledge into action.
So it's not just about knowing this stuff, you have to be able to actually do it.
You've got to do it. You might have to explain, for instance, why certain branches need pruning, or how you'd install a support cable,
Right.
all while taking into account the tree's age, health, and any cultural significance that it might have.
So you have to think on your feet.
You do. You really do.
And you have to be able to defend your choices.
You have to be able to back it up.
Yeah. It sounds like a really intense exam.
It is a challenging exam.
But it really highlights the level of expertise required to be a certified VETcert specialist.
It does. And that level of expertise is becoming increasingly important as we face all of these challenges, like urbanization and climate change.
Right.
These trees are facing more pressure than ever before.
So it's not just about, taking care of them in a vacuum.
Yeah.
You have to think about all these external factors as well.
Absolutely.
Well, this has been really enlightening.
Good.
I'm really glad we had this conversation.
Me too.
I feel like I've learned a lot, and I hope our listeners have as well.
Me too.
And I think it's really important to bring awareness to this issue because, trees are so important.
They are.
And especially these veteran trees, they're like living history.
Living history.
And they deserve our protection.
Absolutely.
That brings up an important point. What does the future hold for veteran tree care? What are some of the emerging trends or challenges on the horizon?
One of the biggest challenges is simply awareness. Many people still don't realize the importance of veteran trees or the specialized care they need. We need to educate not just professionals, but the public as well.
So it's about fostering a sense of stewardship, both within the industry and among the general public.
Precisely. And as cities continue to grow, the pressure on veteran trees will only increase. We need to advocate for their protection in urban planning and development, ensuring they're seen not as obstacles, but as valuable assets.
It's about finding ways to integrate them into our modern world, not just pushing them aside.
Exactly. And of course, we can't forget about climate change. Veteran trees have survived centuries of environmental shifts, but the pace of change now is unprecedented.
So it's about understanding how they'll be impacted by things like rising temperatures, drought, and extreme weather events.
Yes, and developing adaptive management strategies to help them cope with these challenges.
It adds another layer of complexity to an already specialized field.
It does. But I'm optimistic the growing interest in veteran tree care, the development of programs like VETcert, and the increasing recognition of their value, all of this gives me hope for the future.
It's a reminder that we have the power to make a difference. And sometimes that difference starts with simply appreciating the majesty of a tree that stood for centuries.
Well said, and if our discussion today has sparked your interest, I encourage you to learn more.
And who knows, maybe you'll be inspired to join the growing ranks of those dedicated to protecting these living legacies.
That would be fantastic, because ultimately the fate of these trees is in our hands.
Well, this has been such an insightful look into a field I knew very little about.
Good.
I think I can speak for our listeners when I say that we've all gained a newfound appreciation for these ancient trees and the people who dedicate their lives to protecting them.
I agree. And I hope that our conversation today will inspire others to take an interest in veteran trees.
Yeah.
Whether it's simply learning more about them or even considering a career in this fascinating and rewarding field.
That's a great point. For anyone listening who wants to learn more, where would you suggest they start?
The VETcert website is a great resource. You can find information about the program itself, upcoming exam dates, and even links to organizations that offer training courses.
So it's a one-stop shop for everything VETcert related.
It is. And beyond that, I encourage everyone to simply get out and experience these trees firsthand.
Yeah.
Visit a local park, a botanical garden, or even just take a closer look at the trees in your own neighborhood.
Right.
You might be surprised by the history and the stories that they hold.
That's wonderful advice. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your expertise. It's been a pleasure.
The pleasure was all mine.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of veteran tree care. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and let's all do our part to protect these living treasures for generations to come.
That brings us to the end of this episode of Talking Trees. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, we appreciate your support. We'll be back with more insightful discussions in the next episode. Until then, keep growing your knowledge and caring for the trees around you.